Hello and welcome, guys. Today, what I have for you is a bit of a deck profile, but also I'd like to bring to the table a discussion. Because I'm not entirely certain how this next format's going to come out, but I have a list that should be pretty good into it either way. So, to start, we have to start with our Punk engine, as always. So, we've got 3 Foxy Tune, who would have guessed, 3 Xiamen, of course, 3 Emergency Teleport, never gonna change, a card that might come out but still is really good, Ogre Dance. And then we have our one-ups. The Wagon in his field spell, the Spider in the Dangerous Gabu, and then of course we've got Sharkusai, Deer Note, and then one-up Tracker and Ghost Ogre. Nothing too special here, it's just the standard list. E-Telly's 1, 2, and 3, E-Telly's 3, 4, and 5. It's really good. The main goal is to get into Xiamen so that you can do your full combo. So having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 copies of Xiamen, you'd have to hope you see one, right? This list is pretty standard. Nothing too special about this, at least as of right now. So yeah, that's just our little Punk engine here. Little, he says. Okay, so now to get into the Pride engine, we've got 3 Leon, 2 Baller, 2 Carry, a Nitro Head, 1 of the Trap, 1 of the Better Luck Next Time, and 1 of the Came Out of Nowhere. So this is what I've found to be the best ratio of cards for the Gold Pride engine in this deck. And it's important you have around this many Gold Pride names. You could maybe get away with 1 less carry, but I found it important you have 7 or 8 actual names in the deck, and so that's what we've got. Of course, you could always take out the Nitro Head, but I like having him in the deck because having the Nitro Head means you can make Psychic End Punisher turn 1 and make a very strong Psychic End Punisher turn 1 because of the continuous spell. Since for the continuous spell, you take life points whenever you search for a monster, and this is not only the biggest monster you can search, it's also the level 8 you're going to use to make Punisher. And it's still good into Kashtira, obviously. I mean, give them a token and then they cry, but that's becoming less and less relevant over time. The one thing I am kind of sad about is that I can't have Rollerballer at 3, not effectively. What happened is I would see Rollerballer, either 2 Rollerballers or a Rollerballer and a Deer Note in my hand significantly too often to make certain hands just completely unplayable. And so having Captain Carrion instead, just having that as a card that can summon, get your plays going that way, it's just better because, worst case scenario, you can always normal summon carry, grab the trap, as opposed to sit with a few hand traps and then Deer Note and a Rollerballer and do nothing. And now on for the hand trap slash non-engine. So this is where I think the biggest change in the deck is. Of course, we're going to start with the same stuff that's the same. So 3 Ash, 3 Imperm. That, for as long as the world goes round, that probably won't ever change. But what is new here is we're playing 3 Droll, and someone's making a reappearance somehow, Gamma. So this is actually surprising to me in particular. I didn't think I was going to get rid of evenly matched in the main for a while, but I've come to this conclusion for a few reasons. First, we're entering a Droll format, so you gotta put Droll in. The card is insane, and it helps you play into a lot of really hard matchups. As much as I want to play cards like Nibiru and evenly matched, and I might just put this deck up with the 43 so I can, with this specific set of hand traps, I'm at 40. But I'd love to play evenly matched in the main, but I think being at 40 just makes more sense. Now, as for Gamma, this is an interesting pick, I think, anyways. Of course, the hand trap is absolutely incredible. That's why it's at 1 for some reason. But it's not only because it's a hand trap that it's good. So it turns out, if we have access to a level 2 tuner, we can make Baron in this deck. So playing Gamma for emergency teleport just as a level 2, it comes up occasionally, and when you can make Baron, why not? It's not perfect, but worst case scenario, if you happen to draw the driver, so long as you're able to play their Punk combo, you can just discard it, and then it never really mattered. That was my logic behind having cards like Nibiru and evenly matched in the main deck, since if you don't need it going first, you can just discard it. So I figure it's about the same way with the Cypher cards. Alright, so let's enter the side deck here, and this is an incomplete side deck, which means there's just slots for you to edit this however you want for your locals or whatever you think is strongest. But another reason why we're playing Gamma is because we're running Epsilon in the side, and I will explain that in just a second. And of course, we're still playing Cosmic, because Cosmic is absolutely insane for this deck, my favorite one-card starter, always will be till the end of time, and Judgment, because going first, this card is just incredible, and this is a great going first card. So there's two more slots for 3-ofs in this list, and I think one of them for me will be Deck Lockdown, because that has some very good matchups into the Synchron decks, as well as the Pearly deck. So I'm going to test around with that a little bit, but I just don't have it physically with me. But what's important here is the Epsilon. So we're playing Epsilon, partially because we play Psychics, but more importantly because this is a card that we can use into both Pearly and into Kashtira. And not Kashtira, sorry, Labyrinth. So it doesn't immediately make sense that we can play this into Pearly, right? Because, like, what do? They make the Towers monster and draw a bunch, right? But if you go through their combo, what happens is they'll summon the Little Noir, the one that lets them get a bounce on their turn. That one that has this, I believe it's Beautiful Memory, Sleepy Memory. That's the one that lets them draw. And so when they make it with that, on your standby phase, they'll draw 2. And then they're going to use the trap that they search off of that Pearly monster, the X-Pearly Noir into E-Pearly Noir, which turns into X-Pearly Noir off the Pearly Leap, which is the trap. And that's where this comes in. My immediate thought was, well, the easiest way to deal with Pearly is if you just stop them from getting to the towers. So what if we max out on Ghost Ogre, since we're already playing 1, and that we can chain to the effect to draw of the E-Pearly Noir on your standby phase. There's only one problem. Your opponent will just chain the trap to that, and then the Ghost Ogre just doesn't matter. So another card that you could use in this slot is Book of Moon, but I'm going to be honest, if we can resolve the Psyframe Gear Epsilon now, that's just significantly better for us. It's a free Baron, or if we don't have Xiamen, that gets us into the card that searches for Xiamen, so that we can then normal summon him and combo off from there. But normally we want to use this to make Baron, and it's another reason we're just playing Gamma in the main, and any excuse to play Gamma is a good excuse to me. So this is where it gets interesting, and I want to ask for some input from you guys. So here are a few cards I'm considering either putting in the side or the main. So the first one is Tikaboo. I'll explain that in a little bit. And then, of course, there's Evenly. But what's really interesting is I'm considering upping the count of the Psychic Wielder trackers in the main deck. So the logic behind that is going second if we have more of the tracker wielder cards, then we can make a Zeus earlier to try and deal with our opponent's board before we really commit to anything. And that sounds really good. And so that's what I was thinking about. It's mostly to combat the Calamity's Synchro 12 card when they make it, because they'll almost always have a Baron with it. So you can't activate any effects, but you can inherently summon. So you normal summon a 3, special this guy out, make a Exceed, and then make a Zeus. Clear board on your opponent's turn because you can do stuff again. And even if they have the Baron, you just fire the Zeus off twice. And at that point, they've gone through so much of their extra deck that they're in a really weird spot. It also would just add consistency, being able to make the Chariot carry more often. So even if you don't see Pride, you can still play the... Sorry, if you don't see Punk, you can still play the Pride side, which it's still pretty good. And so, yeah, upping the Psychic count might be a good idea for being able to deal with some of these harder matchups. And then there's Tikaboo. So it's kind of hard for us to play into Tikaboo, but if we go first, we can play with Tikaboo for sure. Playing into Sprite, this is hilarious because any Sprite variant pretty much loses to Tikaboo unless it's Brave and they open Brave. But if it's just Sprite, then this keeps them on 1 name. If it's a live turn Runic Sprite, it keeps them on still 1, maybe 2 names, but they can't really get anywhere. And we can, of course, play under this because our end board will be a Warrior, a Psychic. It'll be another Psychic, but that Psychic we can either synchro off with into a Sea Serpent, or we can have that Psychic be a Dragon or a Worm instead, and then we don't have to worry about that. So that's part of the idea behind there can be only 1. I also wanted to change what Floodgate I was playing because I feel like at some point Anti-Spell Fragrance, it's going to fall off maybe. And so this is the one I thought of. All right, and now for the extra deck, another important part of every good deck, of course. So we've got our same little punk ratio, 1 Carp, 1 Drive, 1 Amazing Dragon. We do technically have 2 slots, but I like keeping this count here. I like playing with those other 2 slots. I've tried links and other things, but as of right now, I think I found the best one. And then there's Malong, because we need enough to skill drain in case we ever get there. And then we've got Dragite, Draco Berserker of the Tenyi. And then for our 2 funky slots, it's Excel plus Baron. So, I mean, this is just to punish anyone for playing into Gamma or for games 2-3 if we put in Epsilon. Making Baron into Labyrinth after negating their Welcome Labyrinth it screams like really good to me because it forces an interaction or it turns off one of their interactions, which just makes it so much simpler for you to play the game. And then we've of course got Punisher. We still have our Downward Zeus. That it's just so good. It helps really clean up really complicated matchups, or there's just a bunch on field that you want to deal with, and this is normally the easiest way to do it. And then we still have our 2 Chariot Carry, 1 Starleon, and 1 Pinballer. Nothing too special there. But yeah, so the interesting things you can mess with are the 2 here, the Excel and the Baron. So if you're not a big fan of the Gamma or Epsilon package, you take these 2 out, and you could put in a lot of different things. The first thing that comes to mind to me would be IP Unicorn. I have tested with that a little bit, but I'm currently on this side, obviously. You could always put in another copy of Amazing Dragon. It makes the OTK a little bit easier, a little less funky, because then you don't have to burn your Punisher to make the second 11. Because the OTK is using the Rising Carp as a synchro material, and so you'll do it like this. You'll summon out the Amazing Dragon, and you'll not use his effect to bounce. You'll instead special summon the Carp back, and then make a Synchro 11, so you could use a second Amazing Dragon or Punisher, and then you use the Carp effect to make it so that the Amazing Dragon over here can attack twice. So it's got 3,600, and if you use Ziyaman, it goes to 30. Or sorry, it says 3,000 right now, but if you use Ziyaman's effect when it uses Synchro material, you can make it 36. So it makes it so this 1 card does 3,200 straight up to the face. But I haven't found myself needing to do that all that often anymore. Most of the time I do that, I get nibbed, so it doesn't make me very happy. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. And this is where I actually would love some input. Should I go to a higher main deck count so I can put in... Whoa, my god. Anyways, should I go into a higher deck count so I can include cards like Nibiru evenly matched in my main, or should I just stick to an even 40 and try and hit cards like Gamma a little more often, or Gamma or Droll more often? That's really what I'm trying to decide on right now, and whatever you guys say, I hope to hear from you guys soon. Either way, I'll get back to cooking. See you later.
Dude, that guy looks like such a loser.
Brother, you never know what someone's going through. Maybe he just needs a friend. Hey, buddy, what are you watching?
Oh, I'm watching My Hero Academia.
You fucking loser.